corner. I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray for this country. I'm going to pray for our president. I'm going to pray for my kids. I'm going to pray for all of the workers who are on the front line, essential jobs. I'm going to pray for them. Prayer works. I've seen it work too many times in my life. God always answers prayer. He might not answer it the way you want, but he answers your prayer. I've been watching the news way too much lately, way too much. And it just causes a lot of stress. But I try to pay attention to what they're not saying. It's usually more important than what they're actually saying. What they're not saying. If you turn to CNN, which I do every once in a while, because I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'll turn to CNN to see what they're spewing lies about now. And when I do, what they're not saying, they're talking about healthcare and people who have insurance and the people who aren't insured and how are they going to pay for these treatments and things like that. But do you know what they're not saying? They're not saying what an abysmal failure Obamacare was, what a nightmare it has made for so many people. How can they go on TV and say, oh, all these millions of people are uninsured? How did that happen? Well, because Obamacare is freaking ridiculous and it doesn't even work. It's not even affordable. I know people who own businesses who cannot afford Obamacare, affordable care. It's not affordable. So this whole catastrophe is shining a light on Americans today and where we are failing and what we need to change in case something disastrous happens again. So we are learning. I'm a quick learner. I really learn pretty fast. I did not know how to do recordings on this thing. I never worked on that before, but I learned. You can learn anything. I don't care how old you are. I'm an old dog. I'm learning new tricks. So this is going to be the new America. And we're going to be spending probably the rest of our lives scraping away all the socialist things that are happening now. Try to remember this when it comes to voting, how this feels. I hope you'll remember that it is the Democratic Party who wants more socialist programs in this country. They don't mind that we wait in line to get in the grocery store. This is our bread line. The grocery store, this is our bread line. This is socialism at work. We're waiting for checks. We're waiting for the government to give us permission to go to worship. We're waiting for things. That's socialism. They have complete control right now. And they threaten to shut your business down. They'll threaten you with jail if you worship. This is what that feels like. So how's that working for you? Just let me know. Drop me a message. I'm on Facebook under Kathy Hatch, or Kathy's Right discussion group. So drop me a note. Let me know, how is this socialist experiment working for you? And I want you to please remember this in November. If you want the world to be more like this, then you'll vote Democrat. If you want the world to be like it was before this happened, you'll vote for a Republican. It's that simple. It's really very simple. And I think you guys all know that, or you probably wouldn't be listening to my show anyway, because people who would listen to my show would probably vote the same way I vote as well. So I guess I'm singing to the church. I'm preaching to the choir. Is that what they say? Preaching to the choir. Yes, I am preaching to the choir. That's me. The left-wing media, they're presently praising the governor of New York. Governor of New York is Cuomo. And he's doing a fine job as far as I can tell. But it looks like they're getting him ready to run for president or something. He's getting a lot of airtime and it's free of charge. So I would watch that if you guys, I would keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in New York, because I have a feeling that they will try to finagle some way of having him run for president. It's just my feeling, because of all the praise that he's getting. And Bernie is not a winner. And Biden he's lost his mind. Everybody knows that. And they can only prop him up for so long. So they're going to have to come up with a plan B. Never mind all of the other people who are running for the office of president in the Democratic Party. They're going to completely screw them. Those people are going to be totally screwed. Because I really think they're going to figure out a way to put Cuomo in there. And how are they going to do it? I'm sure it's going to be illegal, because that's just how they roll. in the Democratic Party. It'll be illegal, no doubt. And the deep government, that sinister underbelly of the snake, so to speak, government that is mostly bureaucracy, and the reason that Hillary's not in jail to this minute. She should be in jail for all intents and purposes. So should Bill, because we still haven't heard about Epstein's Island and how many times they've gone there and what happened there. We haven't forgotten all of that. The media might think because they're controlling our thoughts by constantly talking about Trump and that he's a racist and whatever, and he's not. I mean, we all know that, but they're going to keep saying, they're going to keep ringing that bell until we all really believe it. I think a lot of them really think that if they say the same thing over and over and over long enough and loud enough, then the American people, we're just going to be so dumb that we're going to just believe what they say. Well, they got a different thing coming because we're not dumb, not anymore. I mean, gone are the days where we had 3 TV stations and they pretty much dictated the information that we got. And now we have a lot of forms of information: internet, books, television. We've got 1,000 channels on the television. They are not the only game in town anymore. So now they are dreading losing that power to manipulate what we think about day in and day out. So they're really sad about that. They're mad about it. That's their anger. That's their vitriol. They have lost their power. And that's why they hate us, Trump supporters, so very much. Because they have lost their power, their grip on the black vote. I hate that phrase, the black vote. Like we're a mono brain. I mean, we have one brain between all of us, really. That's so insulting. When they say that, I just like, oh, really? So I don't count, I guess, because I'm not a part of your brainwashed society that believes everything you tell them and continues to vote for the left when the left just really wants to enslave us to more programs. Oh, gosh, that reminds me. Al Sharpton. Wonder what he's up to during this shutdown. Do you think he's praying? I sort of doubt it. Because he's a race hustler. We all know it. And an extortioner. So is Jesse Jackson, to be honest. But I wonder what they're up to. I mean, the television, they keep showing us movie stars and their palatial homes and how they feel, we're hunkering down in my $2 million mansion. And we're supposed to, look at them. They're really suffering. No. I want to see how Al Sharpton's getting through this. There's some interesting characters. I would love to find out how they're going through this whole thing, this whole story of the pandemic. And I wonder how much of this is completely fabricated. Because I've been seeing a lot of videos. People have been sending me videos of the same hospitals that you saw on TV. And, they'll show this hospital and people rushing around and there's people on gurneys in the hallway and there's not enough room. And then somebody will send me a video from the very same hospital and it's all quiet and there's hardly any cars around it. And there's nobody in the one tent. They showed tents upon tents, and it's completely different than what we're seeing on TV. And I want to know how much of that is a lie. It's so easy to lie on TV. It's so easy to set things up to look worse than what they were. Like they'll show a news person standing in, thigh-high water during the flood. And then if you saw a picture of the cameraman, he's actually standing not far from him and he's standing on dry land. Because they make things look worse than what they are. They add things for drama. Like, why was Cuomo in that warehouse? Why is it? I mean, they have studios up the yin yang in New York City. Why do they have to show him in that warehouse? Oh, so it makes it look like he's really working hard, and then they had a couple of nurses in the background, with nurse clothing on and things like that. It's all for drama. It's all for drama. I mean, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Not at all. And I don't believe all of these people who they claim have coronavirus. Chris Cuomo, is that his name? The one who's the anchor at MSNBC, I think? Or is that CNN? I get them confused. Yeah, he has the virus and he talks about his, delusions. It's like malaria. He's seeing things. He's seeing things because his fever is just so high. And he was on there talking with his brother, the governor. And I thought I know that he's just making most of that up. I just know. I mean, we all know. It's all for the drama. It's all to scare us more. This will be over. This too shall pass. It will pass like a freaking kidney stone, but it will pass. Trust me on that. God is teaching us a lesson, and we have to be open to learning it. What God wants for us, we need to say, God, what are you trying to teach me now? What am I supposed to learn from this experience? Because there is no wasted experience for those of us with faith. There's no experience that is wasted. So I'd like to find out a lot of things. I'm going to look into it so that when I talk to you the next time, I'm just sure most of what we're seeing is the drama of it all. And I don't believe mainstream media. They've proven themselves to be liars over and over again, and they don't apologize. Remember when they showed the bombs, and they were talking about the Kurds, what happened to the poor Kurds when we pulled our soldiers out, and then they showed the bombs going off in the background. It turned out it was actually some good old boys in Kentucky, messing with some firearms and experimenting and things like that. And that was a big lie. But did they come back and say, we're sorry about that? No, they did not do that, and they won't do that ever. But they will continue to lie to you. So take everything they say with a grain of salt. Everything. Because it's half truths, if at best. A quarter of what you're hearing is actual news. I'm not a news person. I've worked for a television station when I was very young, and it was very, very manipulated, the news. I watched it. My cousin was the executive producer. No, he was the producer. I think the executive producer at the time was a lady named Alma Newsom. And I was associate producer of a morning show. And it's all contrived for a drama. And there were stories that came in through the AP and whatnot that were grotesque. And what the news people do is they clean it up. Like the murder scene might be something where there was a rape. I remember there was a rape. And there's this poor woman, her breasts were cut off. And they couldn't say that. So what they would say on the news was that she was tortured. But they won't say exactly how because it's too grotesque. And so when they're trying to protect the audience from the grotesqueness of it. And so they think they're doing you a favor. And probably it was in good taste back then. But they got so used to, the news people, they get so used to trying to manipulate it so that it's palatable to the audience that they took on a parental role. They sought to teach us and tell us what they think we ought to know or what we ought to think. That's what CNN is really good at, is that they love to tell you what to think and how to think. They don't tell you any real facts. They tell you what to think and how to think. And they manipulate the news and the wording of the news. And they're all on the same page. I mean, if you flip the channel, they're saying exactly the same word verbatim as CNN, as CBS, as MSNBC. They're all using the exact same memo, and it's all manipulated. And they're all manipulating us. So I think we all understand that. And they really do assume they're dependent on our ignorance. That's how they are manipulating the information that we get. They're counting on us being ignorant, or else they really wouldn't have a job. So I'm watching them. I think we all are. I think we all know what's going on. And what they don't say is usually the most important part of the story. What they didn't say about Epstein, what they didn't say about that plane, that island, what they didn't say. I've heard about this island. I heard there was another island out there. I don't know if it's the same one. It could be the same one. I know they're both in the Bahamas. I know that Wendy Williams went there. And I heard that they called it back then a sex island. Ugh. And they said this is like some place that you go and anything goes. and that her husband had flown his girlfriend there too. So I'm not, that's just what I'm hearing from the grapevine, but I'm wondering if that's the